is it, week 7?
7.
All right. Welcome into the week 7 edition of KSR's Pick 3, the number one source for picks against the spread in college football. That's an unofficial ranking I just made up. This week, Nick Roush, Adam Luckett, and I are back with our favorite plays of the week, and you can follow along with you'd like, or you could fade us. Whatever you want to do, just make sure you do it at MyBookie, where promo code KSR doubles your first deposit for up to $1,000. Just type KSR in the little box where they ask for your code, and they will double your first deposit up to $1,000. That's over at MyBookie. Now, before we get to the picks, Nick Roush, it's good to see you here this week. I wasn't sure if we'd have you. How is Baby Watch going? We need an update.
There is no update. I think Baby Watch is going to last until next week. It's just Baby doesn't want to move, which, you know what? I don't blame Baby. Moving is awful. Horrible experience. I don't recommend it. So Baby doesn't want to move out. So Daddy gets to share some picks, and we're on a little. We're turning things in the right direction, right? 2-1. I finally figured out with Uncle Jeff, you don't pick him to win or lose. You just pick the totals, ride with the over, and it was such a fun, fine line to walk when I needed a Maryland touchdown to hit the over, but I also had Purdue money line. So I needed a Maryland touchdown and a failed 2-point attempt to hit both bets. They both cashed right as Kansas was throwing a game-losing interception. It was a fun week, and it would have been 3-0, but some dude from Iowa State, or not Iowa State, from Kansas State, was hot dogging an 80-yard touchdown in the end zone and got stripped as he was running in, and they won by 1 instead of covering that 2-point spread. That was one bad, brutal beat.
It's good to see you 2-1. It's good to see you back.
The spreads are getting good right now. Drew had the Georgia cover by a couple points. You lost the K-State cover by a point or two.
Yep.
I lost the Michigan cover by 1.5. I lost the NC State cover by a point.
Yeah.
So
half a point on the TCU winner.
And half a point on the TCU winner.
Yeah.
Like we're in that point of the year where it's razor thin margins right now.
Yeah, well, I think they say things about Vegas and their buildings. There's something about that.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, that's not going to matter in Knoxville this weekend, though, because Rocky Top, my God, if you can't make strong enough Kool-Aid to feed all of the college football world because everybody is falling in love with those stupid Volunteers. And people forget that they've lost 15 straight games to Georgia and Tennessee by an average of 30 points a game. Tennessee is Tennessee. They're going to vol. It does not feel like 98. All of the bets are on Tennessee, but the line isn't moving because Vegas knows the Tide are going to roll. Give me the Crimson Tide -7.
We excited about that game? Knoxville, I hate to admit it, is kind of going to be rocking.
I hate how the feelings I get watching Tennessee play football. It makes my blood pressure rise. Drew, I don't know how you surround yourself with so many Jagaloons.
Oh, it's all I've been hearing about all week. But I will go ahead and butt in now because I'm also on that game. I mean, as much as I hate to admit the Vols are in one of the games of the year, the Vols are in one of the games of the year. And, the Vols score early, 54-10 in first quarters this season. I think they jump out on Bama. Ooh. The problem is Bama will respond every single time. I think we're getting big numbers here. I'm going with the over in Alabama at Tennessee, 65.5. I'm looking for a shootout. Alabama, defense as good as it is, I think Tennessee will be able to put up some points as well. So here we go.
Tennessee plus 2.5 first quarter is juicy.
I like that too. They start hot. Ask LSU.
That's Kentucky last year. 14 points in 4 plays?
But not this year.
What you got, Luckett?
For me, I'm going to the Big Ten. Minnesota at Illinois. Big game in the Big Ten West. Winner here is going to be Cousin Jeff's probably top competition to win the division. It's unranked team on the road, laying points against a ranked team. I usually like to back the unranked teams here. Minnesota's off a bye. They're 7-2 off a bye under PJ Fleck. They played bad the last game against Purdue. They know they need a win to stay in this division race. Meanwhile, Illinois is playing good defense, but the offense is really struggling. While Minnesota, I think, has got the better offense, and defense is pretty even. So I'm going to roll with the Gophers here off a bye week and in a motivated spot. I'm going to lay the 6.5.
Might have to hop on that one with you, Luckett. It was enticing.
And this is another one where it opened small, and this line has just keeps getting bedded up. So you could actually got this at a better number earlier in the week, but I think it got bedded up for a reason. I like the Gophers here.
I am. What am I going to do with my next pick? My brain's been kind of all over the place this week, naturally. Oh, I hopped on the Horned Frogs last week. It was one of those where a friend of mine, he's engaged to a TCU grad, and he's been telling me, Roush, you got to hop on the TCU train. You got to hop on the TCU train. I was happy I did. And you know what? I'm just going to stay on it. Toot, toot. -4 against the Oklahoma State Cowboys. This is the best offense Oklahoma State has played all year, averaging 8.8 yards per play. So give me the Horned Frogs. Keep that train rolling against the Cowboys.
I'm going to go to a drug I just can't quit. And it is the Georgia Bulldogs laying all the points in the world.
Oh, man.
What am I doing, guys? Why is that even on the screen right now? I got lucky last week at 29.5, but I just can't quit it. Vanderbilt's not going to score. I mean, they held Oregon to 3, Auburn to 10. Outside of Missouri and Kent State, we'll call those flukes. Nobody's putting up points on the Bulldogs. I would not encourage this. Anyone watching, this is strictly a heat check here on the pick 3. But I'm doing it again. I'm going back to the well. Georgia -38 hosting the Commodores.
Big numbers. They're in some Georgia games this year. For me, going over the ACC in a poop fecta of a game. Jefferson Pilot energy here at Miami at Virginia Tech. Canes have lost 3 in a row. They're laying 7 on the road, but I'm supporting them here. Virginia Tech is very, very bad. It was one of my better season win total picks. I had the Virginia Tech under. It was looking like that's going to cash. Quietly, Tyler Van Dyke had a pretty good game, throwing for over 400 yards last week. Miami really needs a win, so I think they go on the road and handle business here. So I'm going to lay the touchdown with the U.
Virginia Tech has gotten so bad that their athletic writer is now reaching out to Bud Foster for long Q&As because there's just nothing else to talk about. Yeah. It's like this team stinks. That's the story. They're very bad.
This team stinks and they're not recruiting great, so there's not really much to talk about.
Mm-hmm. Is it my turn for my
It is.
third and final pick?
Yeah.
This one, I don't even know what the spread is. I just know I hopped on the money line early this week. It's going down. And
I think I saw it at 3.5 right before I got on. I think I know what you're talking about here.
But, like, this is the Mark Stoops spot, right? Like, they're back against the wall. Everybody thinks they're done. Everybody's down on the dumps on them. They're just waiting to get their swagger back. Kentucky's won this game against Mississippi State every year at home since 2016 by an average of 15 points a game. Mike Leach teams, they've done a good job beating up against QB2s, but QB1 is back in Lexington on Saturday. And as long as Kentucky doesn't give up a bunch of stupid yards after catch in the flats, then the Cats, they got this. They got this. Just turn those red zone appearances, those scoring opportunities into points. Mississippi State has done great on the other side. There's something like 90% on scoring red zone touchdowns. So eliminate the yards after catch. Don't turn it over a lot. And Will Levis, go do you, boo-boo. Cats by 90. Hammer that money line.
Go do you, boo-boo. I like
that
the rallying
plus
cry.
160 right now at DraftKings is the highest number.
I got a little 220, so I'm
go.
feeling froggy, feeling frisky. I like it. I know you're feeling good about the Cats. I don't know if you're willing to wager some coin on it though. Do you stay away from the Cats? Because that was my superstition for a while. I could not bet on.
Typically, yes, but it was going to be a play, but it shrunk down too much. So now it's just it's like money line territory. If you're going to take it, you might as well take the plus odds.
Right.
So that's where I stand on that. My final pick, another ACC game, Clemson at Florida State. Going to take the over 51 here. I've had some luck here with Clemson overs, both against NC State and Wake Forest. It's a big spot for Florida State. 2 consecutive division losses to NC State and Wake Forest. They really need to play well. You look at Clemson, one of their biggest weaknesses has been pass defense. Florida State's passed the ball pretty well this year, but they've got a leaky defense, and Clemson's kind of found their groove on offense recently, both in the run and in the pass. DJU is playing better. That's a pretty short total here. You get one team in the 30s and the other team hangs around, that thing's going to cash. And I feel pretty comfortable about one. I think both these teams get in the 30s in this game. So I'm going to play the over here, over 51, Clemson at Florida State.
The only thing I think you got to worry about there is the Clemson defense just forcing a bunch of turnover, zipping up Florida State. But hey,
if that happens, you could still hit. If Clemson gets in the high 30s, early 40s, you can still get to that 51 pretty easily. So yeah, that's a scenario that you could definitely play out. But I feel good about this total here.
Well, guys, when you're riding a heater, 4 weeks of winning money here on the Pick 3, sometimes you just can't wait till Saturday. And since the NFL game is absolute butt tonight, I'm getting behind the Mountaineers of West Virginia, hosting Baylor tonight, getting a field goal. West Virginia is on pace to be the worst team in the conference, which would be awful for the future of our boy Neil Brown. But I believe they win tonight against Baylor. They've got a little hot recently. I know they lost to Texas, but before that had won 2 straight games. Almost won the season opener in the big rivalry game. They are better than 0-2 in the conference. Give me the Mountaineers, the +3, and the money line to win tonight, just because we need some Thursday action.
You're telling me the Bears Commanders doesn't get you going?
That just a big NFL guy here, and that I don't even know if I'll turn that on. Actually, I will. I know I will, but it's.
Well, Drew, you talked me into the Mountaineers. I was thinking about it, so I appreciate that. I still just decided to bet the Bears because I have no self-control, and I also just got to looking through NFL futures today. People like the Heisman fun stuff, but like, come on, giving a Kentucky quarterback the Heisman, that was never in the cards. Right now, you can get Levis at +500 to be the first quarterback off the board and +750 as the number 1 pick. And I know that's not like the greatest odds, right? Like a couple weeks ago, you could probably get that at like 1,600. But Drew, I just think that the way that people talk about Will Levis, especially those in like the NFL circles, I don't know. I feel like those numbers are only going to go down. So I went ahead and invested in Will Levis in the NFL draft 9 months out.
NFL scouts talk about Will Levis like you talk about the Iowa under train. I mean, it's just it's nothing but love.
Yeah.
If you are going to bet it, you better get that price now, because when he outshines Will Rogers with 5 touchdowns this Saturday, you're not going to get 5-1 again. So if you're going to do it, get it in before he plays against the Bulldogs.
Ooh, big 2-game stretch here for Will Levis going against these 2 SEC quarterbacks that everybody wants to prop up. Hooker deserved Will Rogers as a system quarterback. So sorry if you're listening to Hell State Nation. But, yeah, I think it's a big moment for Levis here. Kentucky obviously missed him last week. To get 2-game stretch here, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes on a pretty big run. He's had posted monster numbers already. He just needs a little more protection. But now he's got Rodriguez back full-time. We'll see if he can get something cooking here.
You mentioned Iowa unders. I want to play a game. It's called Guess the Total. Next week, it's Ohio State versus Iowa. What's the total there? It'll be the highest of the season because
like
44.5.
Yeah, something 42 to 45 is the window I'm thinking.
44.5. Final answer.
Yeah, and the under still might hit because Ohio State could win 42-0. Like that's.
I wouldn't put it past them winning 55 to -17 to hit the under.
Oh man!
But before I win another Georgia huge spread, let's do a hypothetical Kentucky Georgia line. What would be too high of a number to not take the Bulldogs
for Kentucky?
Yeah,
we're looking forward. We're gonna ride my Georgia wave in a hypothetical Kentucky Georgia. Because by the time they play it, it'll be down to about 3. But right now,
right. I would think now 24 is way too high. Maybe even
lower than that.
Yeah, 21.5 is too. But in the 20s, I think, just because especially if Jalen Carter would be healthy for this game, he might just he might have 17 sacks by himself. Which that's the scariest part about it. Like I legitimately worry about Will Levis' safety against that Georgia defensive line.
Yeah, I think it would be in the teens. I have it in the teens right now. 16, 17.
I like.
But would you take it though? Like that's the thing. Would you take
right
Georgia
now
-17?
No, because I don't think Georgia's playing that well on the road right now. What we've seen.
There's your final pick. Looking ahead, but we need to keep it one game at a time. We need
Yeah,
Will
I
Levis
mean,
to go off Saturday.
But you got to look at Georgia's schedule here coming down the stretch. It's what we talked about in the preseason. I mean, it's Tennessee, it's Florida, it's Tennessee, it's at Mississippi State. That's by far their toughest stretch of the season. And so they're going to be beat up when they come here. And Kentucky maybe has a little bit of a lighter stretch with you consider Missouri, Vanderbilt going into that. So I'm not saying Kentucky's going to win, but there's, I think, a great opportunity for Kentucky in that game. Kentucky 6-2-1 against the spread as a home underdog since 2016.
Man,
The only team to cover was Georgia. And then they had a split with Florida in 2019 when really it should have been a cover when Florida hit that jet sweep on 3rd and short and he ran it to the end zone there at the end. But that was a game Kentucky was covering the whole way. So typically at home they play pretty well against the number.
Well,
That's
Drew,
all
if you're
I
at
just-
home.
I just want you to remind your father, if the Volunteers do win this weekend, and they are God's gift to football, just to remind him what happened the last time a Kentucky rival thought they had a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback in their best season ever, and they were huge favorites at home. And then remind him what that quarterback did when he fumbled it, and then Kentucky won as 27.5-point underdogs and ruined their season. It would be a real shame if that happened again at the other team's home turf. It would be a real shame if Kentucky ruined Tennessee's perfect season.
Well, let's just hope Alabama beats Tennessee by 42 this weekend. You'll make a little bit of money. I'll make a little bit of money. And everyone else can make money at my bookie. Use promo code KSR. This is another edition of the Pick 3. Let's go get this bread. We'll see you.